Noon to 3 on WMAL in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, has been the home of the Rush Limbaugh program since the early 90s. We can't say enough about what Rush has meant to us, and his illness and his passing devastated all of us. And what they've been able to do with the archive shows has been remarkable and incredible, and we've gone through a process with that. And everyone was sort of holding their breath, what's next? And I got to tell you, as a member of the WMAL team and as a member of the Washington community and a person who listens to talk radio and podcasts, I was amazed at the fact that 12 days from now on May 24th, we will be finishing the very first noon to 3 Dan Bongino show right here on WMAL. And joining us to discuss that very thing is Dan Bongino. My friend, Dan, good to hear from you.
Man, it's been a while. Good to talk to you, too. Thanks for that amazing intro. And, you know, you're right. Listen, Rush was a legend, man. I mean, I don't think me or you or anyone in our business would be doing what we do, how we do it, you know, without Rush. I mean, he was the godfather. Yeah. And listen, I don't want to hijack your interview here, but before you even ask the question, you know, I got this question the other day because, you know, this is one of, you know, well over 100 stations now across the country that were probably playing Rush that are moving to me. And the question, you know, is how do you replace Rush Limbaugh? And the answer is you don't. There is no replacing Rush.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen. I mean, Rush was the greatest player in the game for 30 straight years, and he invented the game. So it's an honor, and really to be on MAL where, you know, you and I was filling in the morning show,
yeah.
I guess, I don't know, 7-8 years ago before I moved. It's really incredible. So circle, so.
8-9 years ago, I think. Well, let's talk about that because, listen, you're right. You're going to be on so many stations in so many cities, and you're going to deliver a great product to all of them. But I got to tell you, this is something special for WMAL, and I would think it's something special for you considering this really was a bit of an origin story for you in terms of broadcasting. Talk through that, about your relationship with this station and this city.
Well, one of my first on-air appearances on the radio ever, I don't mean as a commentator, I mean ever, when I decided I wanted to run for office and leave the Secret Service was on WMAL. I don't even remember who them was. It Brian Wilson and Neiman? I don't even remember.
Probably Brian and Brian.
Like
yeah.
So long. It was right, Brian and Brian. Yeah, it was so long ago, and I mean, my history with MAL, you know, from hosting the weekend show for a while, and then filling in for Chris, and then filling in for you, and then I mean, it's just my history with MAL goes on and on and on, and I mean, everyone knows Heather, Bill. I mean, I got personal relationships there that go way back. It was just funny. I was on a Zoom call when they made the announcement at Cumulus Westwood. I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about this, but that's okay. I just never.
Yeah, go ahead. We don't follow rules. Come on, absolutely.
Bill won't mind.
You got the gig. They won't do anything.
And Bill was on the call, and I'm like, "There's Bill." It was like a personal call with Bill. It was just like the old team was back together again. And you know, like I said, I really mean it. It's a tremendous honor, and I really hope people understand that, you know, the reverence I have for Rush, and I'm not trying to replace Rush because he can't do that. I'm really just trying to be me, and I hope people will give me a chance there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, listen, I don't think you're going to have a friendlier market than WMAL because, listen, half of our audience voted for you, man. The ones in Maryland. I mean, listen, before you moved to Florida, became a Floridian, you were a Marylander. You ran for Senate. You ran for Congress.
That's
here.
Right.
This was your hometown station, and that's got to resonate with you that you're back on now in that slot on WMAL.
Yeah, it does. I mean, pulling into the garage early in the morning. Matter of fact, here's like a personal.
Well, you used to hang out. You used to hang out used to do the morning show with me. You and I, 4 a.m.
I know.
You know, when you were filling in, and it's like, let me tell you, everybody, you really get to know a person when you see him at 4:15 in the morning, and you're trying to put together a radio show. And
you want me to tell you what I was thinking
when
we were sitting there? So it's 4. The show didn't start till 5. So, you know, you show prep for an hour. And here's what I was really thinking when Heather's up on the whiteboard putting the show together.
Yeah.
Most of the time when I'm filling in, I'm thinking to myself, how the hell do these guys do this every day? Like, I mean, you're like, I'm not supposed to be up right now. This isn't right. But I did the weekend show once. I brought my daughter because MAL is a pretty cool family-friendly joint over there. And I brought my daughter Isabel, who was just a kid at the time. She's, you know, big adult now and everything. And we drove out of that garage. You know the garage in the weekend. And on the weekend, the door goes up. And there was this hurricane-like snowstorm. And to this day, my daughter still calls it the snurricane. That was a WMAL memory with my daughter. We barely made it home that night. But, yeah, there's a big attachment there, personally, professionally. I mean, I said that to the Westwood Cumulus folks. I'm like, if we get MAL, I'm in, man. I'm in 100%. Like, we had to have MAL. And think about it, Larry.
Well, it was either you or we did have some offers, some pretty lucrative paid programming. We were gonna be pushing an arthritis medicine, and we thought, let's give Bongino a chance. Yeah, there's competition out there, Dan.
Listen, that station, it punches well above its weight because not only is it in the market pretty dominant, but it's in the nation's capital. So you're talking to some heavy hitters there. So the station, punches way above its weight, and it really does influence national politics in a way a lot of local stations, even in big markets, can't. So this was a key station for the deal, and it's really an honor. I mean, I can't believe it. I was just talking to Jen before the producer, and I'm like, I feel like it's all come full circle. It really
has. Well, and listen, we're reminiscent a bit, and I do want to talk to you about what the format of the new show is going to be, and also a couple of things in the news. But one memory we can't let go. We are responsible for your hairstyle now. You have a very new look now. The video is out there. We shaved Dan Bongino's head on the air.
Here's the story. So I was on plant. And I said to Chris, listen, this is when Obama was president, will never apologize for Obamacare. And he said something like, if he does, will you shave your head on the air? I said, yes, he will. And sure enough, a day later or something, he comes out and says, listen, I'm really sorry. So I get a call. I don't know who it was, like Bill or Plant. And they were like, you better come in here and shave that melon. And we did it in studio. And the crazy thing is I went home and I had this ridiculous long hair. And I look at my wife and I'm like, this ain't so bad. And folks, Larry is not kidding. I never grew my hair back. That was like 7 years ago. Yeah. I never grew my hair back after. Bill Hess is responsible for this look I have today. So if you hate it, blame Bill. But you're absolutely
And by
right.
the way, in true WMAL fashion, I believe that whole shaving of Dan Bongino's head was sponsored. I think we got somebody to pay for it and put their company name
Larry,
on it. It was great.
Come on, radio. If it ain't making dollars, it ain't making cents.
You gotta get
someone had to sponsor it, man.
So listen, Dan Bongino's our guest, and of course our audience knows Dan from all the reminiscing we're doing of being a WML local host here, and of course filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. You then carved out your own Dan Bongino show, your 1 hour podcast. And I got to, first of all, everybody, who knows me and knows that I know you and this news, it's like, what about the podcast? You're still going to do the podcast, and it's going to be separate from the show? How's that going to work?
Yeah, it's a busy morning. I mean, for the last month, I've been getting up super early to get used to the new schedule. I've been getting up at about 4:45 to get my show ready. So, yeah, the way it's going to work is I'm just going to record my podcast like normal, so nothing's going to change there at all. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take about a half an hour. Get ready for the the radio show. And then they just announced today, I'm also going to be doing I'm taking Greg Gutfeld's show on Fox at 10 p.m. on weekends. So I'll be working 6 days a week.
Dude.
It's a heavy workload. But
you make hay while the sun is shining. Really That's great. Well, we're excited about that. And so now you're expanding to 3 hours on broadcast, and that is it. Broadcasting is different than podcasting. You know that because you've excelled in both venues, but it is a different medium, and to broadcast is different than doing a podcast. How do you envision the show being different than what we've come to know in the Dan Bongino show, the 1 hour podcast?
Well, here's the big difference. I really started in radio. I mean, I was filling in at CBM and MAL and BAL and doing the weekend stuff and with Levin and Hannity forever, and there's a big difference. Terrestrial, it's not so much the content. My show's an hour now, my podcast, but it's a hard hour. Like, there's no breaks, there's no nothing. You have to fill an hour. There's no breathers. The difference with radio is there's a break maximum, say, every 18, 20 minutes in like that initial block. So you do get a breather every once in a while, which I always found made it a little easier. The downside, what makes it harder, is if you're going to tell a story, which I do often on the show, like my podcast this week on this recent Biden administration hire, it had a lot of background in it. When you go to a break, you have to kind of come back in radio and almost reset the story. a little bit.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of be a little redundant on radio without.
You've always got
alienating the
listeners
people who are
joining.
listening the whole time.
That's a great point. There are
Yeah.
always listeners joining at different times. Where in a podcast, everyone begins at the beginning and they end at the end. Yeah. That's
Right. Or they can rewind it, right?
Yes,
and when
right.
you're in radio, you just said it. You don't know who's joining when, and they're like, "What's he talking about?" So I found in radio, you have to constantly tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them, or else you can lose the audience. So it is different. You're right. But I think that work-wise, it flows better with me because you get a break every few minutes to take a breather, get a glass of water. I don't get that on the podcast. You got to just hammer straight through.
So Dan Bongino's our guest. You know him very well, of course, and most recently from the Dan Bongino podcast, and now he will be adding to that the noon to 3 slot here on WMAL starting Monday, May 24th. I got to ask you that. Let's get to a little bit of news of the day. When we were covering the Russian collusion hoax, and we were knee-deep into it here, and I think a lot of us all sort of listened to each other and watched each other's social media, make sure that they're not missing any threads on this, because the mainstream media wasn't covering the story. You covered it better than anyone out there. This latest story about this Susan Hennessey woman, this Susan Hennessey, who has now been hired by the National Security Division in the Justice Department. I didn't talk about it yesterday because I knew you were coming on today. Could you address this, please, about who this woman is and how she has now been rewarded with a job like this?
Yeah, this story is amazing. I did a whole hour on it yesterday. She's one of the biggest PP tape hoaxers out there. You remember the PP tape? The whole
sure.
dossier? Yeah, she was one of the biggest collusion hoaxers out there. Isn't a Trump hoax she was not tweeting about on social media ever. Now, dive deep. She now has a job in the National Security Division of the Justice Department. Is going to get one. The National Security Division of the Justice Department is the one that oversaw the whole illicit spying operation in Donald Trump. So you're hiring a collusion hoaxer to go run in the National Security Division? Now, you may be saying, well, that's the story. That's bad enough. No, it gets worse. She worked at the Brookings Institution and wrote a book with Ben Wittes, who was Jim Comey's best buddy, and went on the air defending Jim Comey, the FBI director that marshaled the whole spying operation. And where did Comey get the information from the dossier and the others? The dossier information came from a source at the Brookings Institution that worked with Hennessey and Wittes. You're like, this can't possibly be real. And it just goes to show you that these Democrats, you almost have to give them a bizarre, sick credit. They don't care, Larry.
They don't care.
They just say, yeah.
Because they know.
We're going to hire the PP hoaxers, and we just don't really care. Go stick it up your caboose. We don't care one bit. They don't. Democrats play for keeps. Republicans play nice. And you can't win that game, ever. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, if anybody thought that there was going to be some sort of respite in calling out Democrats, calling out the media, and by the way, calling out weak-kneed Republicans on their hypocrisy, on their cowardice, and on not really focusing on what matters most to the American people, if they thought there was going to be a respite after the sad passing of Rush Limbaugh, they're sadly mistaken, because Dan Bongino starts right here, noon to 3, Monday, May 24th. The entire team here, you know how thrilled we are. I know you've heard from all of us. But it's great to talk with you, and we can't wait to have you on a regular basis, Dan. You're not getting off the hook. I know. Don't give me this, I'm doing a Saturday Gutfeld thing. Please, Gutfeld phones it in. Don't worry about it. You'll have time. You'll come back.
I may get to record sometime early, but yeah, 6 days a week is tough. My wife's like, are we ever going to get to go out again? I'm like, one of these days, my dear. We will definitely go out to dinner again, I promise. But yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate the support. You guys are great. You've been good friends.
You bet. Dan Bongino, everyone, circle it on your calendar. Monday, May 24th, 12 days from now, you'll hear him, the beginning of a brand new era. Thanks, Dan. Great talking with you.